into the woods to do a reading for you guys. I found a nice comfy place to sit and do the reading for the collective that's watching this. Okay, let's do a north, south, east, and west. North, south, east, so Oxytone line 4 reversed is saying that there is dark mother stuff going on. This has to do with the Black Madonna network. Just dark female lunar forces, sexual misery, things of that nature. They're invading the astral plane and damaging the connection to God. So, Oxytone line 4 has the fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is the astral plane. So then, how we deal with that? Researching the unit enhancing tech, which I did over here, and it says soul contract. There's a binding in order to leave the endless. Endless is the void, and in the void most of us have our monads there, and there is a keeper or handler type there with it. And so this is where the soul contract comes in. So our handlers are in charge of keeping an eye on that monad and in there with them. So the Void Dragon does not want these monads in there anymore, so we have to get them out. Have not quite figured out how to do that yet. But I do know if you take something out of the void, you must put something in. So be aware of that. In these contracts that you're bound to your handler, you can share transcendence with them, powers and stuff, and empower them according to the agreement. And if they are not holding up the agreement, you can withdraw your gifts. You can also reward the handler. So a lot of handlers want to evolve and get out of this cycle. So you can help them with that with your abilities. And then there's also false realities. So to master this, you have to have 8D, which is your monad self. So the monads can also talk to you through the void, but they cannot embody because they're in there. So that's one way to do it, is just to get into contact with that and start talking to them. When you do this, you can trick the controllers and use the false realities that they are placing you in against them. So that's pretty cool. Pretty much you're aware that you're in a false reality and you don't let the dramas of that reality affect you. And so you're healing in that false reality and then reclaiming these false selves that are in there. Just realizing that you're in that false reality and doing what you can to heal in it and not play into the dramas. And so 7 is the keys, so it's the crystal tones. Doppelgangers are the actual clones or counterpart selves or whatever that are in these false realities that they're placing in there. And they get our DNA through all kinds of methods over lifetimes. Solomon had a lot of DNA stored up. To my knowledge, it was destroyed when some of the facilities were destroyed. Anyway, they make these clones and they put them in the false realities and parallel realities, and then the clones are matched to us through DNA, and so that really messes with us. So, Shadow Pawn, so this is all being done through the shadow self and everything, mostly all these false realities and stuff. And then test your talent in cultivation, and so there's a lot of ways to cultivate, but pretty much it's using the life force. So using this as your magical energy. You can be independent. Most of us are independent and not associated with any kind of group or a clan or anything of that nature, because a lot of them are playing into the false realities and are controlled groups. So we don't want to deal with that. There's demon cultivators, which control demons, and so you can make them go away. There's soul cultivators, which gather the soul fragments for ourselves and other people. And then there are body ones, which help improve the body health-wise and strength-wise. There's divine ones that are placeholders for the lower realms, so you're holding a higher energy for these realms. There's the demigods, which use the power of law, so the universal laws and such. There's also the power of prayer, and there's the talisman, which creates seals, pretty much one-time use spells and things. You can put it into rings and rocks and all kinds of stuff. The divine water, so this is the Kundalini energy liquids that are formed. And then access to spells and summon the water elementals. Doing spells, I'm not talking about like witchcraft or anything like that, because that is all linked into the false matrix and stuff, and you're actually feeding demons that way, so you want to stay away from that. But doing actual white magic, I guess we would call it. Executional Line 8 is talking about master the art of letting go, trust yourself, and do absolute intention of the one self, God self. And then it's talking about being a demon slayer, so the slayer of these forces, most powerful warriors, so this would be the demon cultivators, sending them back to where they came. And then there's also a warning of AI networks that are broadcasting the Earth grids. This is in the 1D, so in the bone system, and it reinforces the checkerboard mutation with extreme polarity, creates the AI timelines in the fallen Earth, so the Phantom Earth. And then it's corrupting the sound waves and hijacking Mother's original body parts, so using the crystal tones will greatly help with that. And this creates false light holograms and the AI timelines. So these are the false timelines that were being talked about. It's creating these. So using the crystal tones will help you get into a more organic timeline. The checkerboard mutation card is talking about Mary, the co-Messiah, wife of Jesus. So all women in her line will strike down the enemies, the demons. So then she had 7 demons in her, which is, lust and rage and greed and envy and waste and laziness and pride. So then overcome those guys and you can start to overcome demons. The checkerboard mutation is also the crucifixion cross, so that's the crucifixion implant within us with that whole story. The purpose of this is to reverse the fire letters and polarity in DNA templates 1, 2, and 3, And the acetone lines 1 through 4, 7, 10, and half of lines 5, 8, and 11. And then these distortions block the 12D Christos blueprint. And so that's why we should be using the 12D shield to help bring in that frequency and overcome this. It also has inactivations of DNA strands 9 through 12. So that's the avatar self. Disassembly of DNA 1 through 8, and skip codes are placed in there too. So then we have inactivation of all but 4 frequency bands. A frequency band is a dimension. So we have 1 through 4 that we are able to access until you bring in more light and overcome box and all that. It's also playing into the false navel, which is the astral false light webbing. So this is the false ascension matrix webbing. It forces you back into reincarnation. So then you're just cycling through life and death, life and death, life and death. And so they're just feeding off of your energy. This is in the light body. Okay, the succubus demons. So this is basically feeding off of life force energy, which is sexual energy. You'll see a lot of sexual misery, a lot of sleeping around and stuff, either in real life or the astral plane and dreamland. So it's a Fibonacci sequence within your coding in the Phantom Matrix. So the A34441 is the coordinate location that we are in the universal hologram. So this is the core manifestation template field. And then it talks about the 4 coordinates, so the 4 corners that I was talking about earlier. And so this is a more organic form of what to call on and everything. So when you're doing shielding and stuff, it's very good to call on these corners. And then, so we're electromagnetic fields, multidimensional beings of light. So the more you realize this and utilize it, the more understanding you'll have of different levels, like the soul level and the monad level and stuff. So using this will help. So then there's the distortion of the 12 tree grid with the 10 tree grid, and that is the Jewish form and stuff. It's just a black tree of life, and that's the distortion and teachings that's going on right now. People are really following that, and so this is all just black magic and feeding demons, the same as witchcraft. Okay, and then we got, you must become unyielding sword against the dark planes. So you must face all of the demons within and without, and just be strong and face them. Save the world. So then an easy protection shielding, I talked about shielding just a minute ago, is the transfiguration orb. So this is a Merkaba body, and it's basically the hypersphere, and it can be made with 3 of the Epsilon shields. So Epsilon looks like, let's see if I can draw it using my phone. Okay, so the shield, so you see that in the root chakra, and then you push it out with your breath into the aura, and then you see it in the heart chakra, and you push that out to the aura, and in the 10th chakra, which is 6 inches above the head, and then you push that out to your aura, and this would be the XYZ directions. And so this opens an inner stargate in the core self at a 45-degree angle from all sides. So from all of the directions, these directions. And then the orb spins 360 to align with 0 point, the 144 archetypes of God. And then there's more. So then stating that you command your right to coexist in natural laws and the right to own your body's integrity. This will help you sense negativity and psychic attacks, and it will heal Orion distortions and lunar distortions, which succubus is a lunar thing. It is basically Solomon takes beings of light that are here and grafts them with Lilith, and then that creates the succubus demon. So it's graft is a clone taking your DNA and Lilith's DNA and mixing them and creating a succubus form. To overcome this, you're going to have sacred union. This will help work with the transfiguration orb, so use them together. The orb is a very useful shield, so use that with the 12D shield. Augment reality. So this is the false realities that I was talking about, and so you sit there and you create your own reality out of it. Most of the time there's consciousness wiping going on, so like mind control programs and such, and so you don't know that you're in these false realities. You're just experiencing the drama and damaging yourself more. So being an observer of your reality and choosing when to participate in it and when not to, holding boundaries is a good one. And so then here we're talking about the Solomon thing that I already talked about. And that is the succubus.